Hey you guys, I'm Ranger Eric, and today you're going to join me to go visit vernal ponds, and all the cool things that happen around them in spring. So come on, come join us. Hello, I'm Ranger Eric, and today we're in Clark Botanic Gardens in the town of North Hempstead. And here is where we're going to explore vernal ponds. This is one of nature's most fantastic mysteries. These vernal ponds are temporary pools that our amphibians depend on to start their life cycle. And it's all happening right now in the pond right over there. So join me and let's go explore. All right, so today, you guys, we're gonna head over here to the pond and try to catch some tadpoles and frogs and anything else that might be in this pond here in this early cold spring day. And we have some of our nets here to use to catch them. So let me show you now how to use these nets to catch these animals that we're gonna look for, all right? And what we're gonna be doing with these nets is you're gonna put these nets out, reach out as far as you can with them, and then you just kind of bounce them back towards you, and you can bring it right up on the shore then, and put it down and look through the net to see what it is that you've just scooped up. And it might be nothing, or there might be other things in here for us to see. All right, and then you put all this stuff back in, because there could be animal eggs on these. So you want to make sure it all goes back in the pond. You can dump it back in there, and then you move over a little bit and try it again at the next spot over. Do you guys think you can do that? Yeah, so let's get out there and see if we can catch some pond critters. Now sometimes what I'm looking for out here are these little translucent orange things swimming upside down with these little frilly gills as they swim, and it's something called a fairy shrimp, and it's really just one of the most bizarre and fantastical looking creatures on the planet, and they live only in these vernal ponds. So these vernal ponds are actually characterized by the species that live in here. So if you find things like fairy shrimp and wood frogs and spotted salamanders, that would help define this as a vernal pond. So it's not just the fact that it's a spring body of water. Of course, that has to be there in order for a vernal pond to happen, but it's also the community of plants and animals that depend on this every spring for their survival that really defines what a vernal pond is. And that includes the bugs, the amphibians, the reptiles, and the plants. Aha! We found one, a native living right here next to these cattails in this vernal pond. This right here is a painted turtle. The fascinating part of vernal ponds and the animals that live here is that they have adapted their whole entire life to live in these vernal ponds, meaning that, that because these ponds fill up over the winter and they are dry by the end of spring, actually the beginning of summer, that they have to have their whole entire life cycle dependent around that, which means they're in here now as soon as the ice clears, and in fact we still have ice on the other side of the pond. So these guys are in here early, they're just waking up now, and then breeding is the next thing in mind. So after they mate, they'll go on land to lay their eggs and then come back in here in the pond to hang out for the rest of the summer, try to fatten up for the winter, and do it all over again next year. So I'm here in the middle of these cattails, and cattails are true natives around here. These plants were extensively used by Native American Indians in the area for building material, for food, even making a type of flower from the pollen up here in these in their flower stalks. But now these plants form this dense network of roots that are all intertwined down here. It's a perfect hiding spot for any of our natives, any of our reptiles, amphibians, and bugs can get in here and hide. Even muskrats could be in here, and we wouldn't even know it. They could be right underfoot, and we'd never even see them or hear them. These plants make these little tassels up here near the top, if you can see, and what they do is these are all actually seeds right now, and it just takes the slightest wind to blow these seeds, and they spread out. There they go, off to go start new plants in other ponds around. All right, we're here in the nature studio, taking a quick break, trying to warm up a little bit, and show you something very interesting that happens in ponds every day. The life cycle of a tadpole. A tadpole is the larval stage of the life cycle of an amphibian, which is our frogs and toads. After a tadpole hatches, it feeds on the remaining yolk, which is actually still inside of its gut. At this point, the tadpole consists of poorly developed gills, a mouth, and a tail. Soon, it'll begin to feed on algae, and a flap of skin will eventually grow over its gills until they completely disappear. They'll also develop small teeth, which help them grate algae into small soupy particles for them to digest. After 6 to 9 weeks, the tadpole begins sprouting hind legs. The head becomes more distinct and the body itself elongates. The front legs will also begin to bulge out. The tadpole will begin to look like a small frog with a long tail. By 12 weeks, the tadpole is now considered a froglet, or young frog. It looks like a miniature version of an adult frog and will soon leave the water. It'll only return to the water to lay eggs. By this point, its intestines will shorten to accommodate its changing diet. Between 12 to 16 weeks, the frog will have completed its growth cycle. How quickly this occurs depends on the water, its food supply, and other environmental factors. Some frogs in high altitudes or cold climates may take an entire winter to complete their growth cycle. So, the next time you encounter a frog or toad, think about the incredible process they've experienced to become the creatures you see in front of you. Wow, nice job. This turtle right here is actually a red ear slider, and it's a girl red ear slider. So she's out here. We know it's a red ear slider because it has these red marks on her ears. Can you guys all see that? So this species, though, this is a more southerly species. They're not supposed to be around here, which means that this was probably somebody's pet, and it just got too big for their tank or something, and they thought it would be a good idea to release it in the pond. But what's happening is that these turtles are adapting to our environment. They're able to survive the winters, and as you can see, they grow much bigger and faster than our native turtles. So this turtle's going to be able to outcompete our native turtle, and so we're seeing a decline of our painteds with an increase of our red ear sliders. So that's having a real impact on our local environment around here. Oh, lots of good critters in here. Some more mayflies. Great. And I can hear all this bird chatter going on around us too. I hear blue jays and grackles and red-winged blackbirds. It's an amazing time of year right now with spring, but it all gets started with our vernal ponds. This is where spring actually starts. These ponds fill up, the amphibians come, and once they're in here and starting to breed, now the next wave of spring that you're going to see are the birds starting to return. And that's what we're hearing right now, are the birds above us. It's a very exciting time to be out here in nature and exploring things, especially right here in the town of North Hempstead. You guys have a great diversity of wildlife, right here in your town. And that's what this show is all about, is exploring what you guys have right in your own backyards. Now, one of the reasons why these ponds are so important is that these, not only for the amphibians to breed and the reptiles, the turtles to live in, but they're also an indicator of the health of our environment. And what we're seeing is effects happening in the pond here don't start in the pond. They actually start in the backyards of people, or golf courses, or other places like that, where over-fertilized lawns, those chemicals that aren't absorbed by the grasses, are then washed out into the environment, and they generally end up heading towards ponds like this, the low-lying areas. And this is where we're seeing the effects of those pollutants into here, the nitrogens and the phosphates and other outright chemicals as well are found in here, and they're affecting the way these ponds grow. So it's really important for us to keep an eye on these ponds, so that we always maintain a good health here in these ponds, so that we know that our environment for us is healthy. So we're here today at a vernal pond with supervisor of the town of North Hempstead, Judy Bosworth. And I just wanted to see what the town of North Hempstead does to help keep the water quality, good for our critters that are living in here.
We are so intent upon making sure that we're doing whatever we can to make sure that our ponds are protected, that our water supply is protected. Here at Clark, we use organic materials for insect control. We use organic, materials for fertilizer, because anything that you put in the ground always has the possibility of going into our ponds, going into our underground water system or aquifers. So we feel that it's important not only for us here in the town of North Hempstead at Clark Botanic Gardens, but to impress upon everybody the importance of using organic materials when we're dealing with our environment.
Mm-hmm. And I also know that with like fertilizers and things like that, a lot of people think, more is more, and more fertilizer means greener lawns and things like that. But I think it's important for people to realize that any excess fertilizer that the plants don't absorb immediately gets washed down into our drinking water and comes back up in the form of chemicals in our vernal ponds like this. So certainly education is huge. Educating the youth about the importance of these things. What is the town of North Hempstead doing with schools?
Through our Office of Sustainability, we're going into the schools, and we have a great recycling program, but added to that has also been a conservation of water program, so that we're impressing upon our youngest residents the need to conserve water and what they can do at home to conserve water, like, don't leave the water running when you're brushing your teeth, things of that nature, so that they understand early on how important it is to conserve water. It's not here forever, and we have to make sure that we're protecting it.
Certainly, absolutely. And I've heard here at Clark that they teach something about rain barrels. What is that they're doing here?
Well, that's something that every resident can participate in, and in their way save water as well. So if you get a rain barrel, you can call 311 and talk about wanting to obtain a rain barrel. You get it at a discounted rate, and then you put it near your gutters, and when it rains, it does just what you would think. The rain barrel collects the water, and then that can be used for irrigation. So you can be saving hundreds of gallons of water a year. It can cut down on your water bill, as well, but also it's another initiative so that we are doing what we can in our own way to save water. We're so fortunate here in the town of North Hempstead. It is such a beautiful town. We have at least 10 ponds in the park. We have harbors that go into the Long Island Sound. We have miles of waterfront shorelines. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect this beautiful environment, to make sure that our wildlife has a safe place to be. You can see and hear the birds flying overhead. We have foxes, we have bunnies, we have all kinds of wildlife, and the environment is something that needs to be protected, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. I'm certainly, it's certainly making my job easier,
Okay.
educating the kids and taking them out into beautiful places like this. So.
Well, it's a great partnership, and we look forward to working with you.
Great. All right, so I just wanted to come inside the greenhouse here at Clark Botanic Garden. And we're surrounded by all this lush green, and I just wanted to take this moment to talk to you about what you can do at home, because we've been outside, we've seen the vernal ponds, and we've looked at these animals there, and I even mentioned the red ear sliders, how so many people don't know what to do once they start getting, you know, dinner plate size. Often we find these turtles out in our natural ponds. But I just wanted to show you how simple it would be to create some frog and turtle habitat right in your own backyard, and how easy that would be. And we found a frame like this at our local nursery store, and we were able to just buy this. And this is just a simple plastic liner, as you can see. It's a prefabricated plastic mold, and all you'd have to do is to dig a bit of a hole that this would fit down into, and it'd be perfect if this was right at ground level here. And now you can backfill a little bit around the sides, build a pen around this, and just let your imagination go wild now. We can put plants in here. There's all these little cubbies all around here to place your plants. There's a spot down here for a pump, believe it or not. And it's important to keep this water circulating. You want to keep it moving. If it's stagnant, then, which stagnant means it's not moving, then it turns into a mosquito breeding pond, and we don't want that. So we want to keep the water flowing. Even slowly is fine. It doesn't have to be a torrent, but you do want to keep it moving to prevent mosquitoes from coming through. And if you really want to get elaborate, we found this as well. Look at this thing. So this is a waterfall, a 3-tier waterfall that we could put into our pond, something like this. So that means our pump that would be at the bottom, a hose would be coming up and around and put right up here, and you'd have a waterfall, waterfall, waterfall right into your pond. And this would just add beauty to your backyard, as well as that amazing sound of water splashing that is so relaxing, and you know, people put in water ponds just for that sound. And this way, this could be functional in your backyard, a great place for frogs, salamanders, or even your home turtle to hang out. And I just want to point out one other thing that you'd want is around this now. You could also put lots of plantings and things, but you'd want one area that would just be a sandy spot. So a nice thick area of sand where if it's a female turtle, she could come out and lay her eggs here in this nice sunny sandy spot. That's really important for these turtles. Anything else? Oh, you probably want to put some sort of fence or perimeter around this. Usually one side might be your house, and then it's just a 3-sided fence, something simple and easy. That way this pond is, with the pond plants in here and the waterfall, and it's moving like that, it's almost self-sustaining for the summer. And you can either bring your turtle back in for the winter, or if your pond here is more than 2 feet deep, it should be sufficient for your turtle to overwinter outside. And you can even do things like adding a heater to this if you want to keep it from freezing solid entirely. The other good thing about a pond like this, especially with the water moving and with water plants in here, is that it will create its own special balance and be maintenance free for the entire summer. So there you have it. This is something that you can do, a nice easy project for you and your family to build right in your own backyard, and you're doing something positive for wildlife, which is what we love so much. Thank you so much for joining us at this episode of our vernal ponds. Come back and keep following us, join us. We're going to be doing more and more episodes of the wildlife and nature right here in the town of North Hempstead. And to all of you, please keep tuned for more nature. We're going to keep getting out there and exploring stuff. If you want to follow me and see what I'm up to, you can always follow me at my website, yc2n.com. So thank you so much. This is Ranger Eric, signing out.